This is the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast with your host, Kevin Murray.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. On this episode, we have an awesome guest. He believes in fumbles over field goals and penalties over points. From Loserball, it's Jonathan Gruber. Welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you here.
Kevin, thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I think this whole concept of Loserball is great. I think, for me, I love sharing fantasy football resources, anything related to the game. And there's so many different variations. Loserball, definitely unique. I can't wait to kind of share the story behind it and what it is. But so for consumers that are unfamiliar with what Loserball is, from the words of the co-founder, what is Loserball all about?
Sure. So it's sort of like opposite day for fantasy football. As you said, we're rooting for the sort of negative things that happen in the game that usually people get really frustrated with, but instead we embrace it. So what we say is, may the worst team win. And it's a team-based as opposed to player-based. We've been trying to thread the needle between casual fans who find fantasy football to be a little bit too serious, a little bit too complicated, maybe too expensive, and people who really like to geek out on stats and things like that. So the basic things: you pick 3 teams. It's fun. It's free. It's easy. You can win prizes. Happy to dive into it more with you with our 16 categories of stinkiness that we have for.
Yeah, we'll definitely dive deeper into it. But yeah, from a consumer perspective, what are your favorite aspects of the game? It's just the ease of use, or just the quirkiness of it?
So, I mean, the part of it is just the fun sort of strategizing of it, but the actual game watching is different. The paradigm, really the mind shift is different. The sort of perverse delight in a pick six, that you're excited because your quarterback threw the pick six as opposed to the other team, or you're excited when your kicker misses that chip field goal. It's totally opposite. It's thinking differently the way you watch the game, and it's great.
That's awesome. Now, before we'll dive deeper into this whole thing. Let's learn a little bit more about you, your background, and professionally, you're a filmmaker, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm a documentary filmmaker. Actually, have a film coming out right now at the same time as Loserball, so it's like 2 babies are being born. But I'm super excited for this one because the film is obviously a little more serious.
I love it. Now, what are the details behind that career path for you, and how's that been?
It's been great. I mean, I went to, and this kind of follows with Loserball. I went to school at Syracuse, and they, as most people know, they have a long history of heartbreak, and was going into broadcast journalism and television news, and then decided I didn't want to be on television. I didn't want to tell 2-minute stories. I'd rather tell long form documentaries, and it ties into Loserball nicely because it's about telling a story. The story is, hey, it's been, complicated and serious for fantasy football for a long time. And my story is, let's make it simpler for everybody and more fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, storytelling, I think, is one of the most captivating parts of being a fan of sports. I mean, it's usually those details that really get people, deeper, in love with the game, in the the stories behind the game and the players and all that. So for you, like, has sports been a big part of your life? Like growing up, were there certain teams and players that you were rooting for?
Yeah, I mean, what I remember more, again, it ties into Loserball, are the painful memories of being, I think, 9 years old and walking down Grand Street on the Lower East Side in Manhattan, where I grew up, and someone saying, "Did you hear what happened? Bucky Dent, just hit the home run." And I was growing up in New York, but I was a Red Sox fan. So that was like the most painful thing. That's my early painful memory.
So yeah, I can get that way. I love that. It's so good. So how about a good story when it comes to sports fandom?
So
is there one moment that's your favorite sports memory?
Right. So a highlight is I was a New York Rangers fan. I'm a New York Rangers fan, and so I was in the building when they won the cup in '94. So that was hard to really top. Going to Syracuse also, when they won the championship in '03 with Carmelo, that was incredible. but mostly I remember going physically to the other ones when Keith Smart hit the shot in '87 to beat us with Indiana, and when Kentucky beat us in '96. So it's weird how like the losses hit me more. Maybe that's with other people also, more than the wins. The wins are exciting and great, but I don't know why the heartbreak. So we're trying to turn the heartbreak around and say, like, you know what? You've been rooting for a loser for a long time. Maybe you're a Jets fan. Maybe you're a Commanders fan. Maybe now you're a Patriots fan. Now you can turn those losses into wins.
No, that is true. Those heartbreaks definitely hit deeper. For me as a Seahawks fan, not Marshawn not getting the ball on the goal line against the Patriots just a handful of years ago. I still think about that quite often, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. Whereas the championship the year before, I mean, it's amazing. It's great, but that lost championship definitely stings quite a bit more. So for you, like how do you become a Red Sox fan growing up in New York? What's the story behind that?
I was always, I guess, a contrarian, and everyone was a Yankees fan. Everyone was a Cowboys fan. And I just thought that was too easy. Like, why are you picking for teams that are winning all the time? And so being contrarian and, being a little subversive, I guess I wound up going for the teams that were not doing as well traditionally.
That's awesome. So how about fantasy sports? When did you discover fantasy sports?
So I did actually, now that I think about it, I did some NBA fantasy, like back when I would go down to the corner store and get the newspaper. That's how long ago it was. But that I did that for a few years. And then football fantasy was I found it was just a little bit too complicated and serious for me. Like players, salary caps, just being on it all the time was too much. And so a friend of mine, like 20 years ago, we said, let's pick one team, and the team that's going to lose more is going to be the winner. And that was great. And so we were just, picking a team, whether it was the Jaguars or the Giants, and then you'd win some swag, of that team. And what we found was that not only was it fun to root oppositely, but the banter was what was so amazing. So we'd always just talk in opposites, like, oh, my team collapsed. They scored all those points. Or eventually I wound up picking the Cleveland Browns, the dynasty that is the Cleveland Browns in Loserball terms. And I wound up going, I picked them 3 years in a row. The third year, they had a perfect season. They lost all their games, and it was incredible. Like, I went to Cleveland for the parade. I couldn't top it. I had to retire on top. And so I told Dave, I'm done. But I thought that there was so much fun and joy from rooting for the team to lose and having them lose so successfully that I thought there was something in it for fantasy. So that's when I started thinking about how could we, do something that became Loserball.
So the origin of Loserball goes back that far, 20 years to play in that game, huh?
In its nascent form. Then for fantasy, I figured, let me make it not more complicated, but have it be a little more involved than just wins and losses. And so came up with an algorithm, came up with a bunch of different categories and weighted it. So like I said before, for people who really want to look at the stats, we've got it. But for people who are just like, you know what, 3 teams, that's it. I hate the Steelers, so I'm going to root for them to suck.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It's amazing. It's an amazing concept because, you're enjoying the football games. You're enjoying your fantasy lineups. For a lot of people, like me, enjoying their fantasy games, watching football. But then if they're playing loser ball, they're also paying attention to what's happening, what chaos is happening out there. And I can see how it's a good complement to just traditional fantasy in that, you have something else on the line. Let's dive into loser ball. So again, you're
going to find out about it because we're in the experts league, Kevin. So I'm excited to have you experience.
I'm thrilled for it. I'm really excited. It's you've put together some pretty cool experts leagues. You've also got a big contest. Let's dive in. So how is the game played? Again, you pick 3 teams and you're in a league, right? How does that work?
Yeah, sure. So that's all it is. There's 3 teams. And if you just want to pick 3 teams, then go for it. If you want to dive into it a little bit more, there are public leagues, and some of our public leagues, we have prizes. So there's one called Pigskin Pandemonium, and that is, if you win, you win a trip to the NFL city of the worst team. So when we did our beta, someone won a trip to Charlotte for the Panthers. Second prize is a helmet of that team. Third prize is a rain poncho. We're also teaming up with Scott Fish and doing a version of the Fish Bowl, but we're calling it the Flounder Bowl. And the Flounder Bowl, the top 10 winners or losers get entry in the Fish Bowl for next year. And then we're also doing weekly contests with Fantasy Alarm. And the first week is if you win, you win a jersey of the lowest ranked starting quarterback of week 1. So those are the public leagues. You can also create your own private league and have fun with friends. Eventually we're going to create chat so you can talk within the app and trash talk, but do the opposite trash talk. So that's kind of the overall view of it. Within picking teams, though, there are categories, and there are categories of 16 different, as I said, levels of stinkiness, from points given up, and they're all weighted. So points given up and completed passes by the defense are -1 point. You go all the way down to a safety given up, and that's -250 points, and everything in between. So plays like blocked punts, missed field goals, missed 2-point conversions, sacks allowed, penalties. We don't do injuries. We're not ghoulish like that. But you can see online, if you go to loserball.com, you can sign up. You can see how, we have all the categories. And then separate from that, just so you don't say, oh, I'm going to pick the worst team every week or the worst 3 teams every week, we've got a handicap. We've gone back 3 years and we've got an algorithm, and we've weighted each of those categories, most of them, not the big kind of crazy plays, but the ones that are more related to whether a team is good or bad. And based on those numbers, that we've given them a handicap. So as it turns out, the Niners have no handicap because they're a horrible loser ball team. And the Ravens have a 7 handicap. So they have a little bit of going for them. But you go all the way up to the Vikings, surprisingly. It's not what you would think. The Vikings actually have the worst loser ball handicap because their kickers have stunk and they've given up tons of yardage. And yardage is one of our categories, whether you give up 150 rushing yards in a game or you give up a 300-yard passing game, that's worth a bunch of negative points. Negative points is where we want to get to. The higher your negative score, the better you're doing. And so that's kind of an overview of what we're doing.
Yeah.
But we encourage people to jump in, sign up, try it out. It's free.
It's amazing. Yeah, so -90 points for 150 yards rushing, -135 points for a 300-yard game. The missed penalties, the missed PATs, it's incredible. Pick 6, 200 points. You got block punts in there. You got safeties. The only thing I don't see in there is a butt fumble. Like, should there be just a butt fumble point, like a 500, like an automatic win if something like that happens again?
It's true. There are all kinds of things that we are thinking of adding. That is a great idea. We've also thought about adding blown coaches challenges, which might be good if the live stats, can do that. But we do have a fumble returned for a touchdown. I think that's -200 or -225, but not the butt fumble. Exactly. And not not the like the ice bowl, whatever they called the Tom Brady pass.
Oh yeah. What was that? I forget, but you're right. Yeah, for sure. That's a good one. That's good. Or a double doink, like a missed extra point, but it hits the uprights twice, right? I mean,
yeah.
There's just so many things.
Yeah,
I love it because.
Go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was just saying I love it because there's all these little interesting details that happen during a game that you would pay attention to if you're playing this game, like and you could definitely help to, like, if you're rooting for a team, add them to your lineup, just so if your team's not doing well, at least you're winning in loser ball, right?
Exactly. That psychologically, I think that's a huge thing for Jets fans. Now, I'm a Giants fan. For Giants fan, Commanders fans, Cardinals fans. There's always 6 to 8 to 10 teams that if your team does well at loser ball, if you pick them and they do well at loser ball, then you're winning at loser ball. And if they're not doing well at loser ball, then they're probably having a good season. So you're going to win either way.
Yeah, it's fantastic, fantastic. And so again, prizes. There's public leagues with these prizes. It's funny because you had the booth at the Fantasy Football Expo, giving away that Johnny Manziel jersey. I almost won that, but
So
it
close.
just ties in. It ties into to everything you're doing with Loserball. Sounds like it's just a perfect fit for you because it sounds like it goes back many years when it comes to just being the contrarian. I love that. It's funny, in our home fantasy football league, my daughter and I made a trophy for the last place punishment for the loser, and we put we created this just monstrosity. It's over 6 feet tall. It's on this big column, and then I put together these old trophies. We painted it, all kinds of colors, and we put little players, kind of glued on all over it. And yeah, Johnny Manziel's on there. I think Tebow is on there. There's a bunch of players that essentially during the time where we gave that trophy out first, a lot of the losers, last place teams in recent years had these players on their teams, and so they all kind of represented it. So that Johnny Manziel jersey, I really wanted that one. I can't believe I missed out just by having one person.
You had a 1 in 3 chance. So I'm sorry, man. I remember you were there. You came. That was fun. But it's all part of the brand. It's all part of our voice. I mean, I think you talk about the teams where the players that lose come in last in their traditional fantasy football leagues.
Yeah.
And with that, you're trying to win, and you sort of are like, oh, it's a bogey prize. Here you're going for the losses. And the other thing that I think psychologically in Loserball, when you lose at losing, you're like, that was kind of ridiculous to begin with. So people get worked up when their teams aren't doing well in fantasy football. So it's sort of a kinder, gentler, version of fantasy.
That's right. And you have research, right? You have some articles and stuff like on the site, right?
Yeah. We're trying to again, for people that want to dive in and feel free to spend time. We've done team previews for every single team, as it relates to Loserball and how you can scout it. We're talking about each of our different categories as sort of our wish list. Also, and again, it's all in good fun. We're hoping that Ron Rivera gets a job again somewhere because we're thinking that's going to be a great team to pick. That Jameis Winston catches on somewhere. That Dak Prescott continues to have contract issues, and that distracts him. So we're having a great time with it, and the research is we're working with Fantasy Alarm. They're a great bunch of guys, and we have a great partnership with them, and we're excited to kickoffs tomorrow. So
it's amazing. Wait. It's amazing for sure. And it's the tuck rule with Tom Brady. Tuck rule.
Thank you.
So what are the goals? I love it. So what are the goals? Like this year, what are you guys trying to do with Loserball? And then, where's this thing going?
Sure. So we want people to know about it. We want people to really enjoy the fun contrarian experience that I have enjoyed for a long time. Get users, as many as we can, build up the brand name. We want to expand into other sports. Eventually, I'd like to get to India because cricket has 200 million fantasy cricket players out there. So once I figure out how cricket goes, I'm sure we could do a Loserball version of it. And next year, we'll probably start doing some DFS stuff. But again, with the sort of Loserball way of doing things, just kind of looking at it in a more eclectic, interesting way.
That's fantastic. Now you've done a great job with spreading the word. I mean, obviously you attended FSGA, won the pitch competition there at FSGA. What was your experience like getting involved with FSGA?
FSGA has been, great from the beginning. From Digger Turnbull reaching out to me when I was going to my first FSGA in Las Vegas in 23, just to say hi. What are you doing? I had an idea and I didn't really know if it would make sense. And I went to Las Vegas and saw that elevator pitch competition and realized that was a great way to get the product out in front of people who are the real sort of tastemakers, in the industry. It's not a massive conference. It's smaller. It's more, what should I say, intimate. And then the summer conference was in Cleveland, of all places. So I thought, oh my God, I have to pitch in Cleveland because this is kind of where it all started, my idea.
Yeah.
And then we won, and it gave us a little bit of notoriety in the industry, and it helped us to connect with advisors. A great Rick Wolf, Hall of Famer from Full Moon Sports, is one of our advisors. Ed Moed from Hot Paper Lantern. I met our data providers, Rolling Insights, who've done a great job, kind of because live stats there's this sort of like, oh, you do this, you do this, you do the traditional live stats. We're not doing traditional live stats, and the way to program it and the way to calculate it has been different. They've done a great job, getting those live stats to us that are unlike anything else that's out there.
I love it. Yeah, and you've made some strategic partnerships, Fantasy Alarm, Better Sports Network. I talk about those connections that you've made and how impactful they've been during this journey of yours.
Well, it's all been validating in a way to say, like, okay, this idea can go. And I realized that for people who are very heavily involved in fantasy football, that they love doing it, but they also like innovation, and they also like to try something new and what's out there that hasn't been done. And it's not that the idea, I spoke to Peter Schenke about it, when I first came early on, and he was like, oh, I think this has been done. It's sort of, he's sort of the encyclopedia of all things historically. And it sounded like it wasn't quite like what I was doing. So I was encouraged by that. And then, I think, again, being a storyteller and knowing that we had something unique on our hands, and being able to get some quality time with people, and people listening to what we were doing, and presenting something that's engaging. Even the logo that keeps popping in the back. I don't know if anyone caught that. That's sort of insider stuff, but that's an interception, because the O's always go around the X's, but the O is ... That's a pass directly to the X. So that's our little inside football logo.
I love it.
So these partners have been key and critical in getting us to where we are. So I'm super, super grateful for where we've come. I'm so excited that the season is kicking off, and we can actually get people, experiencing the zaniness of what Loserball is.
Yeah, here we go. Buckle up. I love it. What was your experience like with the Expo, the Fantasy Football Expo this last August?
That was fantastic, because that was the first time that we were really in front of consumers. FSGA is more sort of, operators, and again, it's smaller. People really liked it. It feels like, they were like, huh, what's that? That's definitely different. And Bob Lung does an amazing job. You'll be competing with him in the Experts League, so in the Legends of Loserball. So I wish you luck. I don't know. Do you have your teams picked out yet? What are you thinking?
I did. I picked out my 3 teams. I think one was the Giants. One was Patriots, and I forget who that third was. I still might tinker a little bit before things kick off, but I'm excited. I'm excited. What are you most excited for the football season coming up?
Traditionally, or Loserball wise?
Both. Yeah, both.
Well, I guess traditionally it's just always fun. I mean, actually, my birthday's next week, so it's always like the change in the weather. It cools off a little bit. Excited about some of the new players, that are on the new teams, and where they're, how they're gonna shape up. But honestly, because I'm in such Loserball mode, I'm so much more excited for teams that are gonna stink. Like, will the Patriots really just come back, to the Steve Grogan years? And, will the Commanders continue to do something even though they have new ownership, and they'll be, consistent the way they've been? That's really where my head is at. I'm not rooting for teams to do well. I want to see fumbles. I want to see what we're calling gaffes, guffaws, and, other types of futility.
Bring on the chaos. I love it. Exciting times ahead. Great having you on here. Is there anything you want to share before we close things out?
Thanks, Kevin. It's been great being on here. People just go to loserball.com, sign up, check out the public leagues. You can win prizes. It really does not take long to sign up and pick your teams, but you could spend a little more time if you're really thinking about it.
Awesome, Jonathan. It was great. Again, great having you on here. Do you want to share a little bit more about that documentary you got coming out, or is that kind of under the wraps right now?
No, I mean, it's totally different. It's about Joe Lieberman, a former senator, who it's called Centered. He just passed away, unfortunately, but it was Vice President Al Gore's vice presidential candidate in 2000, the crazy 2000 election. And he's just has a message of bipartisanship and also being civil, disagreeing without being disagreeable. And I think that that's a real big lesson. I haven't quite figured out how to tie it into Loserball just yet. But, it's just that, whatever you're doing, have a smile on your face and don't take life too seriously.
That's fantastic. Well, best of luck with that. Obviously, best of luck with Loserball. Hopefully people will embrace this great game because, I mean, everybody loves chaos when you're embracing it, when you're enjoying it, when you're looking for it, because this is a great avenue to enjoy football in a different way. And I think it's a great complement to fantasy football. So best of luck with Loserball. Can't wait to see where things go in 2024 for you and beyond.
Yeah, thank you. Let's come on in the middle of the season. We'll talk about our picks and how it's going. That would be awesome.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. Until next time, be sure to follow and subscribe to all of FFU's social media accounts for daily content.